All right, we are recording. Welcome to our Optimyze Health Chat. I'm here with Sabrina Shkreli. I hope I said that right. I practiced a few times. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really look forward to everything that we're going to talk about. We have a really nice agenda for today's call. We're going to talk about you primarily in your journey. We're going to talk about autoimmune. We're going to talk about Hashimoto's. We're going to talk about non-toxic living. We're going to talk about your transition from into wellness from corporate and some of the stress and some of the things that you experience in that transition. And I know you recently actually made that move. So congratulations to you, the world of entrepreneurship. And we're also going to talk about everything that you found along the way. I'm really interested because I understand that journey when you really start to go and explore and you try every methodology, modality that's out there. You research, you learn so much, really. So a lot of times our pain and suffering can lead us into so much wisdom and so much knowledge, because otherwise we probably wouldn't have gone down all of those different paths to actually research. So I'm really curious as to what you found and why you started this health coaching business. So Sabrina is a health coach who specializes in non-toxic living. So we're going to talk a lot about what non-toxic living is. But first, before we actually dive into that and what you do currently, I would love to know a little bit more about you and how you got into this work and your journey into the world of wellness.
All right.
So, welcome to the show.
Let's do it. All right. Hi, everybody. So I had a very interesting journey, and I feel like a lot of people are kind of going through this as well right now. I was born and raised in Michigan, and I was living like the typical life, at least what I thought was typical. I went to high school, college, got my degree in business, IT corporate business, and I was following the motions. And during this time, I was also living a very typical life at that point, where I was doing a lot of partying, and I was actually smoking cigarettes for about 10 years of my life. And I had this relationship with food where I would binge eat a lot because I was addicted to this poor quality food. So I got to the point where I just thought this was normal life, but I started to not feel very well. And I just thought this was just how life was supposed to be. And year after year, I was putting in more effort to become healthier, but I wasn't really seeing the results that you would think you would see from the choice that I was making. So I graduated college, started in corporate America at General Motors in Detroit, and immediately knew that this was not what I was supposed to do. And I was just kind of like stuck and not feeling my best, not happy. I didn't really know what was going on, but I was following the motions. And at this point, I started getting into my health journey. So Monday through Friday, I would do the whole.
And this is back in Michigan still?
Yeah, this is back in
working for General Motors?
Yeah, downtown.
Which is a good job, like straight out of college, right? Graduate, great job, good money, good opportunity. And of course, like Detroit, it's all about like car industry.
Yeah, so it was a huge deal for my family. Thought there was a huge deal that I got right into GM right after college. It was such a huge accomplishment, which it was. But like day one, I knew I was like, what the hell is this? I can't do this for 40 years.
No.
But I immediately knew that it wasn't for me, but I didn't know what I was supposed to do. So all this is kind of happening. My health journey and my realization journeys and self-identification journeys all happening at the same time over these years. So I'm doing the typical life. Monday through Friday, I was like eating healthy, cooking my meals, being very conscious about what I was doing, but I was still smoking cigarettes at the time, drinking on the weekends, like party, brunch on Saturday, brunch on Sunday, like going out. And then Monday comes, go back to the office. I'm hungover, I'm miserable. I'm sitting there like, what am I doing here? And then get back into the routine. Tuesday, I'm eating better. Wednesday, I'm feeling good. Thursday, and then we get right back into it on Friday, and I'm partying, and and this happened for years and years and years. And my intuition always knew that this was not right. And I just didn't know what it was that I was here to do though. So during this time of all this back and forth and yo-yo dieting and yo-yo lifestyle, I started to just gradually get sicker and sicker, but I didn't really understand what was going on until I've always struggled with my weight, and I didn't know if it was from my genes because I'm half Italian, half Albanian, and you know, we like to eat, and
Yes,
and
we do.
and like I have a thicker build. I'm not a petite little girl, so I was like always trying to look a certain way. I was comparing myself to others, but I didn't realize. I just thought that was the reason why I wasn't seeing the results that I was looking for. I was working out very hard Monday through Friday, every single day, sometimes twice a day, and I was like, these couple days on the weekends of me like partying and binging can't be that detrimental to my success and my results, when in reality I was fueling the fire. And all right, so here we go. Years and years and years of doing this, I find myself to the point where I had enough of my life in Michigan. I hit like a really low point. And I was like, I need a huge change. I need a change here. This is
just to pause real quick. I would love to know, before you even made it to the stage of, I need the change, I need to get out of here, I need to do something different. What were some of the things that you were experiencing? What were the feelings? Because I'm sure a lot of women, a lot of people in general can relate to your story. You know, they made it out of college, they found that good job. You know, there's a lot of security in a company like General Motors. A lot of people obviously would be really proud to work for a big company like that. You have benefits, you have medical, you have all of that set up, and you're doing a lot of what most of the culture is doing, right? You're working during the week, going out on the weekends, kind of work hard, play hard mentality. And then you're kind of overworking, is what you mentioned, in the gym. You're like, okay, I'm trying to get to this image, create this image that's just everywhere. And you're working double time, in the gym, not getting the results. But what were some of the early signs of, I'm not feeling well. This is, something's off. My body's off. My mind's off. Like, what were those early signs that people might be experiencing today?
So I was, like I mentioned before, I was experiencing weight issues, and that was my number one thing. So I was working out all these times, sometimes twice a day, and I was actually gaining weight.
Wow.
And it was like I was focusing on it so much, and it just kept getting, the issue just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I was like, all right, something is going on. I was swollen. I was doing everything right. I was keto for 2 years. Like, that's a whole nother.
Wow. So you did keto early.
I did keto early. I did South Beach back in college when I was like 18, and like I did Atkins. I've done every diet you could think of. I've tried everything because I've always been struggling with this, and the whole time there was this underlying issue that I had no idea about that I'll get to in a minute.
Sure.
Flaring, I was triggering flare-ups within my hormones that were causing these other issues. So extreme inflammation. I was like swollen. I would work out twice a day and I'm gaining weight. I had immense brain fog. That was also huge for me. It was weight gain, inflammation, and brain fog, to the point where I wouldn't be able to really have a conversation. I wouldn't be able to form sentences. And here I am in the corporate America. I have to perform, and I can't even like put two and two together. And it just continuously grew and grew and grew and got worse before it kind of exploded.
And you were doing like operations work in corporate, right?
I was doing IT. So like IT implementations for about 7 years total I was in.
So like the business side of IT, not necessarily like creating or.
I was on like the functional side, creating the system, configuring the system. I did SAP work, if anybody is familiar with SAP, but I would configure the SAP side. And then I actually switched to consulting when I moved out to Arizona, and I started consulting for Accenture, where I was traveling a lot, and we'll get to that unless we want to get there now. But
So brain fog and IT like does not go well together, because so much of it relies on your ability to use logic and your analytical mind and solve and problem solve. And I mean, that's the world of computers and IT.
Exactly. And especially in consulting, when these companies are paying huge bucks for consultants to come there and know things. And I was over here like barely surviving, like barely even being a human. And now I have to come to this client site and act like I know what I'm doing. It was really, really, really rough towards the end, which led me to where I am now. So
stressful as well.
Oh, so stressful on the body. And I didn't know what stress was. To me, stress in my mind was like, oh, I'm like, crying every day, or like, it's this big idea that stress is something extreme, when in reality, stress can be as little as not sleeping right, or not resting when you need, or overdoing your workouts. Like all these little things were adding up and I didn't even know.
Yeah, they accumulate big time, right? All those little things that you don't pay attention, and they accumulate into something really big. And then you're forced to deal with it rather than seeing maybe the red flags along the road.
Right. And stress is huge with imbalancing hormones, and hormones is a huge part of what I'm dealing with now, with regulating them. And that's ultimately what is going on now is we really want to find balance in our hormones, and that imbalance is what manifests into health ailments with my experience. So yes, weight gain, brain fog, inflammation, extreme exhaustion. I was so tired at some points towards the end. Like everything really kind of just like boiled up into the very end when I was really struggling. And that's when I got diagnosed with Hashimoto's autoimmune disease. I was so exhausted. I would sleep for 9-10 hours. I would wake up and I would sometimes have to leave work because I could not be there. I couldn't think. I could not keep my eyes open. And I would go back to the hotel, like when I was consulting, and I would sleep for another 11 hours. And I was like, something is not right. Like something's not right. I'm very intuitive, and I'm like a go-getter. I used to be like a go type of person. So I was like, no, I can do this. But at that point I was like, all right, something is really going on here.
Quick question about Hashimoto's. So when someone gets diagnosed for Hashimoto's, because I definitely want to talk more about that, only because it's just so common and I just constantly hear about it now with teaching the Wim Hof method workshop, having the wellness center at Optimyze. Prior to getting into all that work, I knew about Hashimoto's, but not so much. I knew it was out there, and then I thought it was really rare. And now I see it constantly. So what are some of the things that a traditional doctor looks at in order to determine, oh, you actually have Hashimoto's? And maybe you can explain a little bit to our viewers who may not be familiar with Hashimoto's, what exactly it is.
Yeah, so Hashimoto's autoimmune disease is the autoimmune disease of the thyroid. So our thyroid controls our cognitive function, our hormones, our weight, our hair, our skin, our nails, basically everything. Our thyroid is critical in our health. And what happens is our body starts reacting to the environment that we're living in. And if it's toxic, which what we're going to get into, the body starts creating antibodies, which start attacking the environment that we're living in. Basically, the body doesn't like the environment that we're living in, so it creates these antibodies. And for Hashimoto's, it affects the thyroid. My antibodies were high. That's something that
they test for.
Yes, exactly. Your TSH, your T3, your T4, and your antibodies are what you want to look for in diagnosing Hashimoto's. And my hormones were imbalanced. They were at some points in normal range, because throughout my journey, my family was like, you have a thyroid issue. And I would periodically go to these doctors and they would be like, no, your levels are in normal range. And I was like, something is going on. And I eventually did get diagnosed with PCOS throughout the years, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome, which kind of ties into Hashimoto's as well. It's common that you can have both. But no one ever found the thyroid issue until I moved out to Arizona and found this amazing doctor. But antibodies and unbalanced thyroid hormones are what we
And
want.
the antibodies are attacking the thyroid itself.
Basically, yeah. I don't like to say attacking, but yeah. And that explains the exhaustion, the weight gain, my hair. I've always lost hair my whole life. I was always in the shower, like clumps of hair would come out, and I was like, oh, this is just normal. And it's funny that how everything, now I can see how everything over the years aligns with me having Hashimoto's. I think it was lingering, and I was triggering it over the years with my toxic lifestyle and the environment I was living in.
So the overreaction of the immune response, which is going to result in like inflammation from the antibodies, which is trying to repair damaged cell, which is probably creating debris. And it's just like this constant chronic thing, which probably explains the lethargic feeling, because your immune system is like, it's always active. So you don't even have like so much energy to do things throughout the day. And if the immune system's like turned on, it's probably going to suck a lot of energy, which requires more sleep and,
Right.
and everything else.
On top of that, add in traveling twice a week for work. I was traveling to Seattle every Monday, and I would fly back
From Michigan?
from here. So I ended up moving
Okay.
to Arizona a couple years ago because I had enough with Michigan. I was like, I can't live in this place anymore. Like, I need the sun in my life. I knew that. It's so interesting. My intuition knew that I needed the sun. I mean, all of our intuitions know this. We need the sun for optimal health. But I knew this before I got diagnosed. And I moved out here, and my life drastically changed within minutes. And it's funny that when I found the doctor that helped me, she was like, you need to be spending time in the sun. You need the sunrise, you need the sunset, you need vitamin D during solar noon. And it was just so interesting to see how my body knew that I needed the sun to heal myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, I moved to Arizona and then started consulting when I moved. Like, that was kind of what, well, I was going to move out here regardless, but I manifested the perfect job. It got me to where I am now, but I was traveling twice a week to Seattle from here. Monday morning, I would leave at 6 in the morning and go to work and work 14-hour days as a consultant. Thursday, I would fly back home and get home at midnight and have Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in my beautiful apartment. And I was doing this every week for 10 months. And so imagine the autoimmune plus the stress of the travel, plus the stress of the job, plus I'm working out every single day. I would wake up and do sprints in the hotel at 6 in the morning. I would sometimes work out after work because I was so fixated on looking this certain way, you know?
Yeah.
And during all this, I am just struggling. I'm gaining weight. I'm inflamed. My brain fog. I can't think. And then I was like, all right, something is going on. I was always cold. My fingers would be purple. Like, my fingernails would be purple because I thought I had poor circulation because I smoked cigarettes for so long. But turns out it's a symptom of thyroid imbalance, and also frequent urination. I was never quenched. I was drinking gallons and gallons of water a day, going to the bathroom all the time. And it's just, there's signs that something's wrong. And I also lost my menstrual cycle, which kind of correlates with the birth control. That's a whole nother story, but I was put on birth control at 13 years old. And I was taking it for all the way through college, and
Wow.
it really wrecked me. And I didn't even know this because the doctors tell you that it's to regulate your hormones. It's what you need. It's great for your health. And oh my gosh, I wish I knew that, but it's okay. I ended up losing my cycle for almost an entire year during all of this. So our bodies are speaking to us. Our bodies are communicating at all times. So I was like, I knew something was wrong, but I couldn't figure it out. So that's how we kind of got here. I got aligned with the doctor out here, who changed my life, honestly. Within my first visit, we did blood work, and she's like, you have Hashimoto's. Do you know that? And I was like, what? And I was like, Hashimoto's autoimmune disease? I have an autoimmune disease? And I was honestly ecstatic that day. The day that I got diagnosed, I was so relieved that after all of these years of my life, I finally had an answer. And I subconsciously knew. I was like, all right, cool. So now I can figure out how to heal this, you know?
Definitely. Yeah, at least gives you a starting point, right? Of what to research, what to look into, how to reverse it.
Exactly. So I hit the ground running, and I was working very closely with her, and she is an MD. She was a gynecologist, OBGYN for 22 years, delivering babies in the emergency room. Like that was her path until she started discovering how sick people were getting. And it was sick women, sick babies, and she started seeing a pattern. And she switched her career to basically nutritional genetics and using nutrition and nature to heal the body. So she's not a naturopath, but she just switched her entire career.
Integrative wellness, basically transitioned from like traditional medical doctor to integrative kind of health, which is good. You're seeing actually like a good movement in that area. So I remember when you first came to Optimyze, and I know we'll get there and how we met. But yeah, you were super excited about her, and you were, if I can say one comment, you were extremely determined, so determined from the moment I met you, obviously until now, and you've made so much growth in just a short period of time that I know you, but you were going down every rabbit hole there was to try to find solutions on how to reverse this condition. So
absolutely, because I knew just intuitively, I was like, I will heal this. I will heal this without a doubt, naturally, without prescriptions, because I do not want to rely on the system. I've seen what the pharmaceutical industry has done to so many of my loved ones. And I was like, I'm not going to let this happen. And I know that nature heals. So I was like, we're figuring this out. I'm going to do it. So now that I had the answer, I had the diagnosis, I just hit the ground running. And she was like, all right, we got to change the diet. We got to get super clean on the diet. She explained environmental toxins and all these things. I was already like into health and wellness, but I had no idea this other world. You know, I didn't know about the toxins. I was like, what are toxins? You know, and so she was like, we got to clean up the diet. I lowered the carb intake. I did keto for a minute, but I no longer do keto. I do more of a paleo approach because I don't believe in like restrictions.
sure.
Not to restrict myself, but the sun was the biggest part. She's like, sunrise and sunset every single day for the red light therapy. And I was like, every day? Like, sunrise is at 5:30 sometimes, but I did whatever I needed to do. So I was doing sunrise, I was doing sunset, I was getting vitamin D at solar noon. There's an app called D-Minder, which is so helpful. It helps you track your intake of
UV.
your vitamin D and your UV intake based on the point of the sun in the sky. And you can also, it tracks so you don't burn yourself, because we do.
You shared that with me. I remember when you first got connected with that.
Yes, it's huge, because if we're putting sunscreen on, we're blocking our body from absorbing the rays. So it's critical that we allow ourselves to absorb it without burning. So that's what this app also does. It tells you, all right, it's time to get out of the sun now because you're overdoing your exposure. So that was a game changer.
And the red light rays, I know you quickly went through that, and most people don't realize that. I mean, the sun puts out lots of different types of energy, but when it's coming up in the morning and when it's going down in the evening, it looks amber. It's that amber, tone to the sun, and our bodies can receive and absorb the red light energy. And why was she so specific about you getting this red light energy and obviously waking up early to get it? What was her thought process on why that would be beneficial for you?
So the red light from the sun, you're right, the sun has different rays that it emits at during certain times of the day. So the red light from the sunrise and sunset, when it hits our retina, this is also the reason why we should take off the sunglasses, because we need to absorb the rays.
Yes.
So when the red light hits our retina, there's a chemical reaction that happens in the body, and there's basically a signal down to our mitochondrial level where the brain tells the cell to create more ATP. And ATP is what basically gives us energy.
Yeah.
So the red light only comes from the sunrise and the sunset, and that triggers our ATP production. And it also helps balance our other hormones. It helps create melatonin so we can sleep better at night. and it helps regulate our circadian rhythm, which is our body's internal clocks. We are one with nature. We've kind of detached ourselves over the years.
Yeah.
We need to get back into alignment because nature heals. So it's just so incredible how perfectly aligned everything, how we really are aligned with nature. So that's why it was so critical to get the red light, to help create that ATP so I can have more energy and start balancing my circadian rhythm so I can sleep better. Because when we sleep, we detox and we remove the toxins that we acquire during the day. And if we're not sleeping properly, then we're not detoxing properly. And then we're not cleaning all the junk that we have in our body. So every part of the day is all the exposure from the sun at all times is important. It's triggering different reactions in the body and different systems to help us be optimally healthy.
And all of your traveling, going to different time zones, from being in the air, that really throws off the circadian rhythms as well. And, obviously there's an impact on your health from there. Plus that, not all sleep is created equal, right? Just because I laid in bed for 8 hours doesn't mean I got a good night's rest, right? How many times you're waking up, what's your respiratory rate, how much deep sleep are you actually getting, what's your REM sleep like? There's so many different factors I think the large majority of people are not really cued in on. I know the biohacking community is, because they have different wearables like Oura Ring and the Whoop and different things like that to give them that input on what the quality of their sleep is. But if you're stressed, if you're traveling, if you're in front of blue screens all the time, phones, your quality of sleep is probably low, which is going to contribute to the hormone imbalances and all the other things that you're seeing so much in our society today. So awesome. So thanks for sharing that about the red light. And we'll get in a little bit more about that, because I know that's how we initially met, because you were basically told or, scouting out different facilities that had these types of services. Red light services, but then we'll get into cold water therapy here soon. So how did that transition go? So you were doing all these, it sounds like from my perspective, you were starting to get back into the rhythm of nature.
Yes. And it was amazing how quickly I started seeing results. And it was being in the sun really stepped up my spiritual game as well. It's really hard to explain, but I just built this really deep connection with the sun, and it helped me also elevate my spiritual health as well. And that, yeah, it's just, it changed, it really truly changed the game for me. And then that's kind of when I discovered I started looking into the ice baths, because she said sun, food, and ice baths. And I was like, ice
baths, what? Huh?
Well, I didn't even mention, when she first started telling me all this, I was looking at her and I was pissed off. I was like, you're telling me that I have to go stand in the sun. I have to go look at the sunrise. You're telling me that the sunrise is going to heal me. Yeah. And I was actually pissed. And she also told me, you need to stop traveling. And I just started my consulting job. And I was like, what are you saying? I was like, I can't stop traveling. I just started this job. I just started this life out here. And now I quickly know, like, I can see it now. Yes, our bodies are not meant to do this. Our bodies are not meant to be traveling back and forth all the time, sitting in front of a computer screen all day. We are meant to be in nature. And I quickly started seeing the results as soon as I started watching the sunrise and the sunsets. And then she's like, ice baths. So I tried to do my own in my bathroom, and that was a nightmare because we don't have cold water here. And the ice melted in 2 seconds. And I was like, all right, how am I going to find an ice bath? And that's how I felt upon you guys. And that kind of triggered this whole journey. My accelerated healing journey was because of Optimyze, honestly. And I found myself at your door, and that's where the journey started. I got my first ice bath, and I was kind of like a natural. I don't know if you remember. You're like, wow, you just got right in. And
super calm, super relaxed. Like you were able to kind of like settle in quickly, and obviously the body goes into a fight or flight. So people are either like fighting the experience and just like watching the clock, trying to power through to like the 2 to 3 minute mark, or they're obviously out and they want to like recollect themselves and make a decision if they want to go back in. And very rarely do I find people like yourself who's able to kind of take the coaching, take the training, step in, sit in, and like let go and not fight the experience. I mean, usually it takes some training to get there, and that's normal and natural and completely okay. But yeah, you were able to find that rhythm really quick. So, or at least, from my perspective, you looked very calm. Sometimes you can't tell either. So yeah, so you started coming to Optimyze daily. Yes. And I remember we used the InBody machine as well, because we were like going to get an idea of what was going on in your body. We really were collaborating together on, okay, let's try all these different approaches with the advice from your doctor, and how are we going to basically come together as a small group to contribute towards your healing. And we did, I remember you did some blood testing as well, which we can talk about. We did the InBody machine. We were measuring your water retention, because I know that was a big part of really just anything inflammatory in general. Usually you retain excess water, extracellular water, and you were making all kinds of adjustments to your diet. I remember you were playing with different approaches towards diet, but I naturally saw you just getting your diet more and more and more dialed in as we continued to get to know each other and work on this together. And you were introducing me to all kinds of stuff. And I know you were getting your food delivered and you were trying different supplements. I think you were the first person to tell me about the Shilajit too, right? Yeah, which is awesome. I use it every day now. I love it. And now we sell it. We sell it at Optimyze too. It's great stuff. So yeah, so tell me about the cold water therapy and the red light therapy. Why specifically did your doctor want you to seek that out and work with that stuff? Obviously, you're getting the energy from the sun, but you kind of took it a step further by standing in front of the panels and then doing basically cold water training. You were at least doing it 5 days a week.
Yeah, there was a point where I did it for 30 days straight. But just like the red light panel, same as the sun, the red light helps our mitochondria create more ATP.
Yeah.
That's necessary. We need to have our body running on all cylinders.
Yeah.
To get that energy so that we can go throughout our day. Same with the ice bath. It reduces inflammation and allows our bodies to basically recalibrate, balance our hormones.
Yes.
Inflammation is huge. I actually lost 8 pounds in the first month of going to Optimyze, just by going to Optimyze. And I'm not saying, I don't know exactly what the 8 pounds was coming from, but it was 8 entire pounds just from ice baths. And I noticed inflammation in my face was going down, in my body. I noticed immediate results. And that was so funny, because when I stopped working out 2 times a day and stopped overstressing my body, and I literally just calmed down, I'm watching the sunrise and I get in an ice bath, I start losing all this weight that I've been trying to lose for 15 years,
Yeah, it's really a combination of things, because, one thing at Optimyze, they're all working on like multiple concepts. Of course, there's always the physical part. Most people always want to talk about the physical, right? How cold water therapy produces norepinephrine. The norepinephrine helps to, reduce pro-inflammatory cytokines. That's where the anti-inflammatory effects of cold water come from. The red light energy, right, which produces cellular energy, ATP, mitochondrial health, all that physical stuff. But there's also something about being in an environment where most of the fitness institutions is all about like, grinding it out, hitting the treadmill, lifting weights, pounding, grinding, all of that, and going to Optimyze and really giving yourself time to go within, giving yourself time to be by yourself, to be with your thoughts, to focus on, your inner strength, your inner power, to rest, to restore, to relax. That's the part that most people don't give themselves enough time, because we're always on the go, right? We're always trying to move to the next thing. We have a lot of appointments and meetings and messages and people contacting us from so many different avenues. So it just helps people to slow down, slow down, give yourself some time. And that's how we designed the space, by moving from compression. And you use it all. Like, you were in the, sometimes people come in and you can tell that they still have that mentality that just need to get it in and get out of there. And they'll just like jump right to the sauna and then maybe do some cold, and then they're kind of on their way out. For you, you do it all. You come in, you do your compression, you do your breath work. Sometimes you do the red light, you do the sauna, you do the cold, you do the hot water, the hydrotherapy, and then you do more cold. Like, you take it all in. You're really good about loving yourself, really. You really put that out there. Like, you give yourself time to heal, and you realize, obviously, through your journey, like how beneficial that is. So hats off to you.
Thank you. Thank you. And that's also what I believe helped heal me as well. Obviously, I know it helped heal me as well, because before I was so go, go, go. I had no relationship with myself. I had no idea the whole spiritual side of life. And Optimize really helped me like calm down, settle, go within. And I started to see life completely different. And then I was able to fill my own cup, and then I could help others. I could perform life. I was operating and feeling so much more better, because I was filling myself up first and slowing down. And that's what changed my life, is slowing down and going within. And Optimize is the perfect place to do that. And that's why I soak up every station, every therapy, because they all worked simultaneously, and it's my time to give back to myself.
And you were committed, because you also came to the classes. Like, you were a regular in coming to the classes. We had the jungle rhythms class. You do the breathing exercises, the up regulation, the down regulation, the sound healing. Like, you took it all in. You were a student. You're just like, I'm here to learn. I'm here to absorb it all. You came to the Wim Hof Method Fundamentals course. We sat through all the science, the theory, the practical application. You really took it all in. If I just to look back and just reflect on, like, all right, meeting you, and then you sharing with me what was going on and how your doctor had recommended you to come here. And then over the last year and a half, I don't even know how long it's been. It's about that.
Yeah.
Everything that you've absorbed and taken in, and all the conversations that we had along the way, because one thing I think we could probably both relate to is like having a busy mind, right? Having a busy mind, being able to solve things really fast, maybe spending a lot of time thinking, thinking about stuff, and then making that transition to feeling more. But I also noticed when you started to dip your toe into the world of spirituality and understanding different concepts. And I remember we had a talk about Hashimoto's, but we started to talk about the thyroid, and we started to talk about like the energy centers and like what was going on there. And you were like, I haven't even looked into that yet. Yeah, I need to spend more time and look into that. And I think one of the things that came out of that conversation was the identification with the disease, that you are already at that point of breaking. You didn't want to identify anymore with that disease. And that was an interesting transition. And I learned a lot from you, just reflecting, but also watching you, from a distance, and how you made that transition. So anything you want to share about that?
Yeah. So you're right. And that conversation, I remember very vividly. It opened up a whole new door for me. And I discovered that my throat chakra was blocked, and our thyroid is where the throat chakra is. So I was working on with my friend Lindita, who was my energy worker, soul coach, you can say. We helped to unblock my throat chakra. And other chakras as well. And I was holding on so tightly to this disease, like you said, like I have Hashimoto's, I have to figure this out. I became so obsessed with healing that I was identifying that it was me. And that was kind of keeping me in this spiral of like not healing. I was healing, but I was identifying so hard. So as soon as I cut that tie, I just told myself, I'm healed. I am healed. I healed my autoimmune disease. And I just kept saying it every day. And like, I am healed. And then I stopped. I kind of just like, it faded. I stopped even like, telling
You
myself.
changed your terminology. You
Yeah,
weren't even using the word anymore.
exactly. I
You
stopped
didn't
saying.
want to associate with it. I remember that. I remember when it went from like every conversation we have is about Hashimoto's, right? Or in some way it would find its way into the conversation to, I don't identify with that anymore. And I'm, yeah, I'm healing. Yeah, I'm working on stuff. We all are. But yeah, there was a pretty clear separation. I thought that was pretty powerful. And I think that's not talked about enough because, as we have been talking about throughout this whole conversation, so much of it is on the physical, the physical, the physical, the physical, the things that affect our body. But I really believe in this idea that like, everything is energy first. So it's like energetically is the source. And then it's like manifesting itself into the physical, but if we just work on the physical, we never really get to the energy or the source or that component of it, then we might be missing something. So
Exactly. And that was a huge part for me. And thank you for that conversation because that helped me heal that part and kind of evolve and grow past it. So yeah.
yeah, my framework for health is like when I was on my journey, I like this term mind, body, spirit, mind, body, spirit. It's trendy, it's popular, everybody uses it. It's like this tagline for businesses, like it's really common. But at one point I was like, I hate trendy stuff, that's just me personally. I really want to look into the meaning of that, and you mentioned the word earlier today, used the word balance, it's about finding balance in your body and getting your hormones and everything balanced. And I really believe that if you put energy into the mind, the body, and the spirit, you'll find balance. But so many people are just tackling, the mental aspect of things or the physical aspect of things. And then the spiritual aspect is like, mumbo jumbo, or, it doesn't quite tie in. So what were some of your awakenings when it came into spirituality, and how did you find your way back? I like to say way back because I believe we all find our way back to spirituality in some way. We are spiritual beings living in a physical vessel. What were some of the things? Was anybody specifically that you were following, or books that you read, or practices that helped you to create some sort of realization?
Yeah. It's evolved over time. And when I first started, my spiritual awakening started back in 2013, but I wasn't fully invested until about 2018. And that's when I was in a really rough point in Michigan right before I moved out. And I discovered Abraham Hicks, who my cousin introduced me to. And after the first video, I woke up the next day and I was different. Something was different. And then I started just practicing the law of attraction. And I got back into, I watched The Secret back in high school when it first came out. It never really resonated as well until the moment when I discovered Abraham Hicks, and just what she was saying was making so much sense to me. So much sense to me, because I was raised Catholic and it never resonated with me. And I was like, there's something more though. I knew there was a spiritual side to life. I just didn't know what it was. So the words that she was saying, Abraham Hicks, really was clicking for me. And then I just opened the door of the law of attraction and I started practicing it. And I was seeing immediate synchronicities, and like profound. The synchronicities that I have experienced in this life so far are, I could write a book and it's the most mind-blowing synchronicities you could imagine. And that's, to me, is like, that is my truth. Like, that is all I need to know. And I started practicing the law of attraction, and our thoughts create our reality. And we are spiritual beings having a temporary human experience, and that's where I live. I feel that in my core, and I've gotten to the point now where I've been practicing it for so long that it's my way of life. And along the way, I don't really listen to Abraham anymore. I understand there's a bunch of different accounts on Instagram that kind of just like, they all funnel together, and it's very eye-opening when you start seeing things a little differently.
Your belief in manifestation is very strong, by the way. Like, you used it, but you don't use it in kind of a hippy dippy, like, oh, it's a cool word to say. And of course, you like really believe it, you know. And one thing I also noticed about you is like, you really trust your intuition, you know. And I know you come from like a thinking platform, right? Very much rooted in the mind. You're in the IT world, you're a businesswoman, you have your degree, like you're well studied, and all of that, but you really lean on your intuition. I think that is like more needed in society. I have to remind myself a lot as well to like trust my intuition, not always try to solve things from the mind and look at everything, you know, so analytically and logically. And even like with your move to Prescott and some of the things, or your transition from corporate, you really relied heavily on trusting your intuition. So I really respect that about you. And yeah, you just use the word manifestation very strongly because you really believe it. And there's a lot of power in belief as well. And there's a lot of good science to support the power of belief. I mean, let's be honest, like all of these different research studies that are always happening all the time, there's also a placebo that creates positive results, right? If they're testing a medication or some sort of process or procedure. So there's, you know, there's so much power to this invisible force, this placebo, this belief that we don't fully understand. So I want to point that out, but I would love to learn more about, you know, obviously what you're doing now, which is you're a health coach. You transitioned from corporate and you are specializing in non-toxic living. So tell us a little bit about non-toxic living, what you found along the way with all the changes, all the research, all the rabbit holes that you went down to learn about your health, the thyroid health, and how toxicity like played this role. Maybe it was this thing that you weren't considering, and now you take it very serious, and you're doing an amazing job of talking about it publicly on your Instagram account. I know you have some good things coming, which I'd like to hear more about as well. So
okay,
maybe we could talk a little bit. Yeah, what's toxic living and how did you get there?
Okay, so during the healing process, part of the physical part, there was ice baths, the food, but also being conscious of our toxic burden. Basically the toxins that we're consuming from our everyday life that I wasn't even thinking about. And that's what I discovered during my research and working with my doctor, was people with autoimmune disease have to be extra cautious of the toxins because they overload the system that we're already overloaded from the autoimmune disease. So, I mean, everybody should be conscious of the toxins that we're consuming regardless if you have an autoimmune disease or not, because those toxins cause hormonal imbalance. They manifest into disease and cancer and all sorts of things. But that was one of the huge things I discovered during my research of how am I going to heal myself, was being conscious of the toxins. So I started discovering that there's toxins in everything, and not to be like obsessive with it, but like just being conscious. So our food, the herbicides, the pesticides, the food, the additives that are being added to the food that we are consuming. There's food scientists that create chemicals to put into our food so that we become addicted to it. These chemicals are toxic for our bodies. The herbicides, the pesticides, the chemicals in our water. Our water has so many toxic chemicals. And I used to drink tap water. I had no idea, you know, if we're unaware, then we don't know. So I was
Oh yeah, growing up back east, just like if everyone drinks tap water and they say, oh, we have the best water. That's why New Yorkers always say that we have the best water. I'm like, yeah, okay. You don't even know what's in that water.
I know some places do have better water than others, but still there's so many added chemicals. There's pharmaceuticals, people dumping their pills down the toilet. It goes into our water system through urine. I didn't even think about that. If people are consuming pharmaceuticals, they are peeing them out into the water system. And we have billions of people doing this. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I started discovering all these different places where toxins were, and I had to start removing them from my life. So I discovered the food, the water, our household products, so our cleaning products. I was using Windex and Lysol and all these things, and beauty products, shampoo, conditioner, my hand soap, my face soap. We are putting these products on our skin. We are absorbing through our scalp. I used to think, oh, that doesn't really matter. It's just a little bit. Well, we're doing this every day or every couple of days, or the food we're eating every day. We're drinking the water every day. These toxins build up in our system.
Yeah, accumulation.
Yes. And then all of a sudden now we have some sort of ailment that we're working with because our bodies basically the switch turns off and turns on, and enough is enough. The body can't handle the overload anymore. So that's kind of how I believe Hashimoto's got triggered. Was I was doing this yo-yo back and forth stress, and then overload of environmental toxins, plus the cigarettes, plus the alcohol. It was just all just kind of compiled, and then my body couldn't handle it anymore. So I started seeing just how toxic everything was, and I discovered this passion that everybody deserves to understand what is going on around us. Everybody deserves to understand what's in our food, what's in our water, what's in our products, what those chemicals are doing to our health, physically, mentally, and spiritually, and how to actually find how to actually like live a healthy lifestyle. Because I thought I was healthy, but I wasn't eating properly. I was consuming the water that had the chemicals in it. I was using these products. So like there's levels to this, and I discovered this along the journey, how truly important toxic exposure is for our health. So kind of like leading into the transition from corporate to health coach, during my healing journey, I discovered all this, and I was like, oh my gosh, with the ice baths, the sun, the toxins, all of this, everybody deserves to know this. And I started seeing how sick everybody really was around me. I would go home to Michigan, and everybody's feeling like shit. It's like normalized, like
Normal. Yeah. People forget they forget what feeling good actually feels like.
they don't even know what it is.
Yeah. What is that?
What feeling good feels like until now. And I feel the best I've ever felt in my life. And I thought I used to feel good, like, oh my gosh. So I started seeing just how sick everybody was. All people are developing Hashimoto's, yes, and autoimmune disease left and right, cancer here, all these different issues because the body cannot handle these toxic lifestyles anymore. And yes, genetics play a part in this, much smaller than you would think. We have the ability to change the way that our genes are expressed and how our body performs based off food, water, and environmental toxins. We have a lot of power that we are unaware of. So I developed this passion. I healed my autoimmune disease in under a year. I've started just feeling better and better and better. And I was like, people deserve to know this. So I was like, how can I, but I'm like traveling for work still in Seattle. Like, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing? How am I going to do this? So I started.
That's the scary part. That transition. Yeah, it's scary.
But I'm very good, like you said, at trusting my intuition. I knew that the thoughts, the messages that I was receiving to just follow this, I knew that it was what I was supposed to do. So I found Institute for Integrative Nutrition. I immediately enrolled while I was still working at my corporate job. I was doing both at the same time. I did the accelerated program in 6 months because I wanted to just hit the ground running with this, because I finally discovered my passion after, at that point, 27 or 28 years of life. I finally figured it out. So I was like, what do I do though? I contemplated going back to school and getting my master's in nutrition and all these things.
I remember that too. Yeah.
I went to ASU and it just didn't feel right. It didn't feel right. And now I know, like, the school system is flawed. So I was like, I'm glad I didn't go that route. I found IIN and it was exactly what I needed. And I loved it. I enjoyed every minute of it. and I got my certification. And then I birthed this business. I birthed this non-toxic living business where I help people make the switch to a more non-toxic lifestyle. And I just educate people on my Instagram. I have a Facebook as well, but Instagram is my main platform. And I just create content to help shed light on this issue and help people make the switch to a more non-toxic lifestyle. So I was like, how can I reach as many people as possible? How can I help as many people as possible? And that's kind of where my intuition gave me the idea of writing ebooks, writing e-guides, which is leading me to where we are today. I know how I like to learn, how I learn and how I think, and our society likes very structured, direct information, right? We like everything in our fingertips. So I was like, all right.
Short attention spans, yeah.
Yeah, we don't have the attention span to read a 300-page book or do all this research. And I know how overwhelming it can be, because I was exactly at that point where I wasn't feeling right. I had the motivation and determination to get healthier, but I didn't know where to go because the information out there is everywhere and it's overwhelming, you know? Where do you start? So I was like, I'll write a guide. I'll write an ebook where I can guide people through the ins and outs of the toxins in each of these industries, and I can help them make the switch. So that's what I did. For the last 6 months, I wrote my first ebook where it's all about the food industry. So all about the toxins hiding in the food industry, the herbicides, the pesticides, the gluten, the soy, all of that, all the ingredients to avoid, what to look out for. So that's what like part 1 is, like educating on the actual toxins themselves, what they're doing to our health. And part 2 is how to find nutrient dense foods that actually help us heal mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. So how to find a farm, how to find a farmer's market, how to navigate a grocery store, what to look out for, what I do, how I eat, what food I buy, just to kind of give guidance, you know?
And plus you're consolidating. I mean, so much time, energy that you've spent learning these things from multiple resources, you're consolidating all of that into a guide where somebody who maybe just came out of the office and realized I'm diagnosed, right? Or feeling the same symptoms that you were and saying, all right, something's off, something's wrong. You have all of that information at their fingertips, which is awesome for you to be able to consolidate all of that research and knowledge. So congratulations.
Thank you. That's what I envisioned. I was like, everything to build a solid foundation, right? And this is for anybody. Like I said before, we don't need like an autoimmune disease. We don't need some sort of ailment to make these changes. Everybody deserves to know, like I said, what's going on, what's going into our food, what's going into our water, and how it's affecting our health. So we can be preventative, because we don't want to wait till we have an autoimmune disease, right? We don't want to wait till these things manifest.
That's a reactive approach towards health, which is pretty common in today's world. And I would say that's the majority of the health issues. It's this reactive approach, do this, do that, and then wait to get really sick. And now you're forced to actually deal with it. And in most cases, a lot of times, especially if you go to a traditional path or traditional doctor, you really just going to go down the road of pharmaceuticals, and then you're going to have to play with all of the side effects of those pharmaceuticals. And it's just it seems to be like a road to nowhere. And it's really common. So I love this proactive approach that you're talking about. I like to say in all my workshops is that the best defense is a really good offense. So be proactive about your health.
It's true. And since implementing all these changes in my life, and since removing the toxins from my life, I truthfully see a night and day difference in my health rapidly. I'm all about like efficiency, and I truly see a difference, and I see it with my clients. I see it with people all over the world. I see it, and it makes complete sense. We're freeing the body of the toxins. We're freeing the fog. The toxins really affect our brain. They affect the whole body, but it affects our ability to think and see things how they actually are. So when we remove this fog, we allow the body to basically come in alignment and operate as it should.
Find balance.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned a word earlier. You said, I healed my Hashimoto's naturally.
Yeah.
Everything that we talked about, what was that moment where you maybe went to the doctor, got a blood exam? Like, what were the things that showed up that allowed your doctor to say, like, congratulations, like you're free of this? Like, what were the things that they test for? Is it like C-reactive proteins? Are they measuring inflammation? Are they measuring cortisol? Are they measuring the T3, T4 levels, the antibodies? What were all of those things that that they looked at to show that the body had found balance, or also known as like homeostasis again?
Yeah, so it was kind of the hormones in the areas that I was having issues with in the beginning all balanced. So like my vitamin D is actually a hormone, and my vitamin D levels were low even though I lived in Arizona. Even though I was spending time outside, I wasn't absorbing it properly because I wasn't outside during the right times. I wasn't exposing myself properly. So my vitamin D level, my leptin level was way high. My prolactin levels were high. And then my thyroid, TSH, T3, T4, those, and my antibodies were all out of whack, basically. So within the first 8 weeks of Optimyze, my leptin, prolactin, and vitamin D from the sun, all of that were within optimal range within 8 weeks.
Wow.
Which is absolutely amazing. And then over the course of the year, my thyroid hormone started to balance, and my antibodies went down to normal range and considered in remission. And now I haven't been to the doctors in a while. I don't feel the need anymore. Like, it's kind of like a past life. Like, that's not even, it's really bizarre that was even my reality for a while. And now I'm like fully embracing this life of feeling my absolute best and trying to help as many people as I can, because I want people to know, like, you can feel your best. It is absolutely possible. The body knows how to heal itself if we give it what it actually needs.
Put it in the right conditions. And I love how you brought up vitamin D, because that's like this missing piece that is not talked about enough. You know, people think, oh, I drink a glass of milk once a month, I'm getting my vitamin D. Or the comment that you made, oh, I live in Arizona, I'm getting my vitamin D, but I'm walking outside with sleeves on and pants on, and I have a mask over my face and maybe a hat on. So, and I'm basically going from my house to my car, and I'm indoors in an office or in the house, or it's just amazing how many people in Arizona, which is like the sunniest place in the country, right? Florida, you know, maybe being a close runner up, and obviously California, or at least Southern California, how many people in Arizona are vitamin D deficient? So just think about all of these people who are living in Michigan, New York, New Jersey, pretty much, you know, anywhere in the northern part of the United States, especially over the last year, where there's this fear of being outside, being around people, being in parks. Parks have been closed. So this super important vitamin that's not really a vitamin, it's a hormone that plays this integral part in our immune health that people are overlooking. And I also get this, oh yeah, I supplement with vitamin D, and they take a multivitamin that maybe has like 300 IUs of vitamin D in that multivitamin, and they think that they're going to fall in the, you know, efficient category. And it's also interesting that people are so willing to go get tested for, say, COVID or something like that. They'll run and get tested, but they won't get a blood test to see what their vitamin D levels are. And these doctors also, you know, I love the doctors that are passionate, like your doctor is, about not only making sure that you fall in the, in the normal range, but I might be on the super low part of normal, but using the terminology that you use, which is the optimal ranges. I think that's so critical, and it's interesting to see how that was a big part of your health and your wellness and your recovery, and how your soul knew that, which kind of brought you out here to the desert where all this transformation began and started to happen. So you have an amazing story, super powerful. So grateful to know you and to be part of that in a small way, and have watched you to go through this transition from when you first walked in the door at Optimyze and you started to talk about what you were tackling and all the blood tests that you were getting to where you are today in such a short period of time. What you've accomplished in the last year and a half, like, would take most people, 10 years of decisions to get there. So congratulations on all your success. I'd like to know, how do people find you? And, what do you, I know you talked about your guide. When can that, when's the expected date of that coming out? So tell us a little bit more about some of the resources. And the other thing is, I'd love for you to touch on, I know you also offer coaching, which is people can reach out to you directly and work with you. But if somebody's feeling the symptoms, or maybe they recently got diagnosed and they don't know where to go, what's the first step for people who are really trying to find a solution to this? Because I've had people show up at my workshops who fall into that category, and you can tell that they're searching and they're looking. So where would you want them to start? Like, do they just start removing toxic stuff out of their life? Are they starting to, it's a little bit of everything. It seems like you have to make good decisions about food. You have to change your lifestyle. So it's probably very unique for everybody.
It is, and it's there's a fine line, because it can become overwhelming. Like, oh my gosh, I have all these changes I have to make, and that's not what I want for people to feel like. It's more of just baby steps. If that's like a piece of advice I could give, is to just take baby steps, and those baby steps accumulate, and over time you'll look back and you'll say, oh my gosh, look how many changes I've made, look how good I feel. We don't have to hit the ground. It's good to be motivated and determined, but we don't have to do everything at one time. It'll all kind of unravel. Just make a choice that feels doable, and just make a choice that feels like you can do it at that time. And then just keep adding on from there. So I personally, that's why I'm starting with the food as my first guide, is because we eat the food every day. And we eat food and drink water every day. Those are what we're also consuming the products every day, but the food is a big portion of what we're consuming every day. So if we can clean that up, you'll see huge positive results in how you're feeling just by making the adjustments in the quality of the food that we're eating. So that's why I'm excited about this first guide. And then after this one, I see myself writing one about the water, and maybe one about the household products, and like the different industries where these toxins are hiding in our everyday life. The guide is going to be ready. It's taking a little bit longer than I anticipated, which is fine, but
Sure.
it's coming. I'm hoping in May. I'm hoping sometime in May. I'm really striving for May, if not shortly after that. But my website is currently being designed, and I use Instagram as my main platform. And my handle is Sabrina Shkreli _, which is my name. So Sabrina, Sabrina, Shkreli, Shkreli _.
That'll be tagged, by the way, so okay. You don't have to remember all those words. It'll be tagged in this video so that people can click on the link and follow you for sure.
Cool. So that's where I share most of everything. I make a lot of stories. I try to post as much as I can with valuable information that is going to actually help people make changes. And then the guide will be, my new website will be up there when it's ready, and the guide will be available for purchase on that website.
Yeah, and these are all such wonderful, great things that they can do in combination with working with their doctor, right? Using what you learned along your journey, changing diet, removing certain things from your life, and also probably cultivating that kind of inner work process that maybe they haven't cultivated yet, that can contribute as well to a path to, feeling good, feeling energized, and being well again. So to everybody listening to this, I highly, highly, highly recommend you follow Sabrina, and she'll be announcing the release of her ebook sometime in May, hopefully May, if not early June, and her website as well. So just follow her journey. If you have any specific questions for her, leave a comment on this video or send her a direct message and she'll get back to you, set up an appointment. You guys can, possibly work together. So just an amazing collection of resources, of experiences, all into one conversation here. So thank you for sharing your journey with all of us. And I really appreciate having you on this talk. And I look forward to see what comes in the future, and your ebooks, and also your transition, which you're going to be moving to Prescott, Arizona soon, and how that's going to be. There's definitely, there's a lot of nature everywhere, but Prescott has a different type of nature because you have the lakes, you have the forest, you have the temperature changes where you have an actual winter. And it's only an hour and 30 minutes from Phoenix?
A little under 2 hours, yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I'm going there temporarily just to get out of the city, to get out in nature. I'm feeling like I want to get out there. I've outgrown Scottsdale and it's time to explore. So I'm going there just for a couple months to see how I like it and just see what comes from there. And yeah, thank you so much for this conversation. I know we covered a bunch of topics.
You did.
Everybody who's listening, and thank you for Optimyze. Honestly, without Optimyze, I would not be here right now. That is a fact. So thank you so much for offering these therapies for us to heal ourselves.
Awesome. Well, it's our pleasure. And it's a big part of our mission really is to help change people's mindset on health, to be more proactive, less reactive, to seek value in natural modalities, because as you know, they work, they're effective, they work. And it's funny that all this whole health industry, I always look at the health industry and there's so many different aspects of it. There's the biohacking world, there's integrative health and all these different things. And you can really consolidate it all into one. We're all humans, just basically going back to our ancestral ways, like everything. Oh, we're eating more organic food. We're eating more fresh food, less processed food. We're learning how to be still and not be so busy all the time. We're detoxifying our life from chemicals and all those things that didn't exist a long time ago, or not even that long ago. We are using nature for wellness by going into warm water, cold water. We are doing movement and we're walking and we're grounding and we're being barefoot, like all of these simple things. It's like amazing how far we've come as a human race and everything that we've been able to create from a technological standpoint, but how sick that's actually making us. And now all of the health industry is basically all points to, all right, you just need to get back to like the cycles and the rhythms of the planet, wake up with the sunrise, go to bed early. Like it's a really interesting transition that we are all part of. So thank you for sharing your story, and look forward to connecting with you, and can't wait to get a copy of your ebook. And hopefully in May, we'll be able to put that out and start helping others. But for now, reach out to Sabrina directly, follow her and her journey. And thank you so much for being part of today's health education talk with Optimyze.
Of course. Thank you so much. I'll see you soon.
Talk to you soon.